sound so I can sync up my sound here. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thanks for doing this.
My pleasure.
And where I wanted to start was in your letter that you wrote to me recently with the article that you sent about, the materials you sent me. You referred to Barney in a very special way. I don't remember if you know how you referred to him, but I think it was as your hero.
He's my hero.
So could you just talk a little bit about that and why he earns that title?
Well, my brother and he were in the same graduating class. And my brother would keep me informed about what was going on here. And I ran a little bit myself, So I followed him pretty closely.
And you said that your brother was in gym class with
Yes,
Barney?
in gym class, and apparently Abe Herr was a gym teacher then because he told Barney to show him the positions for a sprinter to take.
What do you remember about Abe Herr?
Abe Herr and I became social friends, and I never thought I'd be social friends with any school teacher. And I became social friends with quite a few elementary, junior high, and high school teachers. He was a strict taskmaster. He's a no-nonsense guy, a very good guy. I remember he always called me Curly. And then after school, we were in the coin club together. He was president, I was vice president, and then I succeeded him in the coin club. And I visited him at his house. He at my house.
What do you know about his relationship with Barney, Abe Herr?
Well, Abe told me the first time he saw Barney, he knew about this lad who was a good runner.
Yeah.
And Abe was in his
Can I
office.
stop you for a second?
Sure.
Let's take off your badge.
Oh.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Okay. Abe was in his office down at East Junior, as we called it then. And this little fellow came and stuck his head in and said, "Hello, Mr. Herr." And that's the first he had actually seen Barney.
Now, tell me a little bit about the graduation of the class of 1938. I think you mentioned that you saw Barney graduate.
Yes. He had kind of connection here. My father was a carpenter here. It's the first year he made over $1,000 in 1 year. My brother was in that graduating class. And I don't know how we got here, whether we walked here or come in a trolley car. The only thing that I really remember was when Barney got his diploma. And a tremendous ovation given to Barney.
So he was a popular student then among the rest of his...
Apparently he was, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't seen him then until 1941 when our Lancaster Township track team, our track coach, took us down to Franklin Field, and we saw Barney participate in the pen relays there. We were on the far side of the field, just looked like ants, but nevertheless we saw.
What was it like to see Barney Yule run?
Well, it was like a lot of people be of Elvis Presley were here, It just, to me, it was very exciting because I had great respect for him. Really great. A highlight, we had less things that were highlights then and what now, and it was a big highlight in my life.
What do you remember about the Olympics, the feeling in Lancaster at the time, and his performance there at the Olympics?
Well, I remember before his training for the Olympics, he'd been working in a foundry, I think, and took a couple of weeks off to get back in shape. And Jim Neely saw him running, so what are you doing, Barney? He said, getting ready in shape for the Olympics. Well, I guess some people didn't take that very seriously. And then I remember Abe Herr took him out to Ohio for the trials, and that's where he equaled Jesse Owens' time, 10.2 in the 100-yard dash. And Barney told me sometime later that he peaked too early, but that's kind of surprised he did that. In the town, when he came back from there, I am told that there were more people to see Barney Yule than what had been at the railroad station to see President Roosevelt a couple of years before that. And
could you talk a little bit about the tree project when you planted trees in honor of Barney?
Yes. The county park as an Arbor Day, where they had every year for a while. In fact, J.P. McCaskey was quite an advocate of Arbor Day. And I petitioned the county to plant 2 trees, one for Barney and one for Abe. Now, they were both living at the time. So it was a black oak or black gum for Barney and a yellow wood for Abe. And they helped to fill in the hole. And Abe had a little powder vial of fertilizer or something. He dumped it in. He said, I've got to get a little head start on Barney here, you know. And they both participated in that. And then after their passing, the Coin Club provided 2 plaques, and I provided another, and another fellow and I put in the plaques. And the trees are maturing very well now.
What do you remember about Barney's later life? I mean, you just shared a little bit, but you know, after the Olympics, his life working. I know he worked at Warner Lambert Company for a
Yes.
while,
Mm-hmm.
and I know he got some awards for community service and things like that. How close were you to him, you know, in his later years?
Well, I guess pretty close, I believe. I had the privilege of introducing him 3 different times when he spoke to different subjects. In fact, the one, I know he was working in Lidditz at Lambert Hardnutter, working there at that time. I took him to one. And that's when you kind of got to know him. He spoke, he talked about this controversy about the baton change. I think he referred to it as a stick. We all just called it, can we cut this now? Can we cut this?
Sure.
I put my nose.
No. Sure. Yep. No problem.
I can tell you about another job.
Sure.
Okay, Barney worked in a number of places. You know, he worked at Armstrong's, and he worked for the city at the water department over here at the Conestoga water treatment plant. In fact, I had heard that there was competition among the students at Penn State, and he won his division in boxing there. Not the boxing club, but he had won that. Ron Ford said he didn't remember that, but I've been told that. In fact, something that supports it, there's a fellow, Rosie Stoy. Years ago, Lancaster was really a boxing community. We had a lot of good boxers, good. And Rosie Stoy and Barney used to spar around playing around sparring. And Rosie Stoy was a generation before Barney, but they would spar around and have fun with it.
What can you tell me about Barney's early life? And it's okay if you don't know anything about it, but you know, he came here to Lancaster when he was probably 2 or 3 years old from Harrisburg and grew up on South Christian Street. Do you know anything about his family? Can you tell me anything about, you know, his growing up there in the Southeast in the 1920s and 30s?
Well, I had a friend, Jerry Klebansky, who lived diagonally across the street, an outstanding athlete in our area. And Ewells had no telephone. Now, of course, he wasn't not a little kid at this time, you know. And the coach, running coach, track coach from Penn State would call the grocery store if they wanted to talk to Barney. So Jerry would run across and get Barney if he's home. If not, they'd leave a message there for Barney to call, and he'd do that. And the people in the neighborhood said he used to run with the kids down there, give them a half a block start on them, and they all enjoyed that.
I've heard that his father was a runner too. Do you know anything about that?
Well, was it what?
Well, I've heard that his father was a good runner. I don't know that he ever
I don't
competed.
know. I was never aware of that. Never
Okay.
knew that.
Okay. So I just want to start back at the beginning where we started. Now that I have your ID badge on.
Okay.
But could you tell us again how you referred to Barney, and why you referred to him that way?
Well, my brother and he were in the same graduating class, and my brother would keep me informed about Barney, what he was doing. And I was interested in running myself, so he kept me pretty well informed in that. So And I remember when they graduated from high school, I don't remember how we got here, whether we walked here or my mother, father, and I came here, or whether we came in a 6-wheel trolley car at the time. But the only thing I truly remember is Barney getting his diploma, walking across the stage in this tremendous ovation he got from the crowd.
And let's just go back. So you saw him compete in the Penn relay?
Yes, in 1941. Saw him in the Penn relays. Our track coach, Fred Engel, from Lancaster Township, took the track team down there. And we saw Barney participate in the far side of the stadium. And it looked like ants running over there, but never we saw Barney around. It was a big time for us because this was in 41. This was before Pearl Harbor, see, in the spring of 41. Because it had been the next year, we couldn't have gone because of gasoline rationing and everything. But it was exciting for me, and I guess a lot of the other people too. Of course, I'm a little more interested in Barney, I guess, than most kids my age.
Do you know anything about his military service?
Not a whole lot, but I know I cut up paper clippings that followed me, but I didn't write the dates on them at the time. And I know I had one that said Camp Kilmer when he was running for Camp Kilmer. I've been told makes a nice story whether it's true or not, that they asked where he wanted to be placed in the military, and he said he didn't want to be in the cavalry because he didn't want those horses to get in his way. I heard another one that when he was at Penn State, I've been told that he was a smoker. He said, Barney, you shouldn't smoke if you're a runner. He said, in 100, you only take 3 breaths. He said, it's not that important. So I don't know whether it's true or not, but makes a nice story. But he was certainly a personable, pleasant man, you know.
That's great, Jim. I think that's all I need.
Okay.
So thank you so much.
Okay.
That was fantastic.
Okay. I'm going to tell you also, you know,
Yeah.
his family and my family were pretty well associated. You know, my brother having gone to school with him here, my daughter, who was a director of a religious school in Reading, brought her children over from Reading to visit with him at the county home. And he signed a T-shirt which he framed. My son, James Patrick, ran with his son, Patrick. I ran with his younger brother, Eddie Ewell. And about 50 years ago, Denise Ewell, I'd given her an award for being outstanding patrolman at Higbee School. And I remember Denise and Barney, she'd sit on his shoulders, you know, and hold her hands, and he'd be jogging around town, she'd be giggling and everything. And, you know, and after I came on the police department in 1950, I'd see a lot of him, you know, downtown, and talk to him. And a very unpretentious fellow, you know, and down earth. And he told us already about this controversial pass. Somebody said, he had an expression that meant it was a bad pass. I don't know what it was, the exact word, but somebody said, it's a bad stick. And Barney said, well, it's mine. And then he realized that it was in question. And I don't know exactly how they figured, but anyhow, they had a staggered start, you see, in a different zone. And the judge, whatever he called the guy, was looking at the wrong zone. I don't know how they determined that because we didn't have iPhones and stuff like that. We didn't even have Polaroid cameras at that time. So somebody had to have some kind of movie picture. Probably they filmed it and then had to do that. But the awards were already given to England, and then they took them back and gave it to U.S. of A. You know, and Barney told us that in the 100 when they run Harrison Dillard, which should just win Harrison Dillard doing that because he was the greatest hurdler in the world, and he failed to qualify to get in, so he was there by chance. But Mel Patton was to his left, and that's the guy who was favored to win, 19-year-old guy from California. And Barney, and then the guy, his name was LaBeach from Panama, a couple more, and then Harrison Dillard down there. And of course he thought he won, and LaBeach says, no, Barney, Bones, he win. That's what he said. And kind of when you see he's dancing around, he's coming back that lane, and I suspect that that's when this guy next to him. And I could see why he would believe that. If Dillard's a guy, or if Mel Patton's a guy expected to win, and he's right here, and I could see, I'm not saying what he thought, but I can imagine that if he beat him, he'd think of one thing because here's a guy who was expected to win. But nevertheless, now see, Dillard still didn't run it as fast as what Barney did in the trials. See, so as far as I'm concerned, Barney still could have been considered the fastest man in the world.
Do you think that if he had had a chance to compete in 1940, that he would have matched Jesse Owens' performance?
I feel he would, yes. In fact, I'm not sure whether he tried out for the 36 Olympics or not. That's probably a matter of record someplace that they went to trials. He's just a guy in high school then, but I'm not sure, but somebody said he tried out for the 36 Olympics. But when he was in Down East Junior, at age 14, he ran 100 yards in 10 flat. F&M College wasn't doing it. And and he back in the training, there was a guy here, George Rudder, his grandson, was Brett, and he was a quarter miler, I think. And when Barney was training, he over at F&M, he'd come over to F&M and run. And he and a guy by the name of Smith, and I think maybe Bill Inicelli, who was a javelin thrower, but they got a fellow by the name of Bruce Rudder, who was an official starter. And he'd get through, they'd start him there. Of course, they said Barney outran him, but nevertheless, he would get back in the routine of starting. And Barney was known for a good starter. In that photograph that's shown quite often at the start, you can see he's right out there, and you can see that Harrison Dillard's about an inch past him. But it's remarkable, they had a Barney Ewell Day, and the number of Olympic runners who came out to Conestoga View to see him. And any of these funerals, a lot of them showed up there. They would come. And Harrison Dillard, in his eulogy, after he closed the case, and he reached back and tapped the hip. He sees my buddy. And, everybody there was hoping that Barney would have beaten Harrison. Of course, Harrison was there. Quite a gracious guy there.
Do you remember him at Conestoga View, or how long he lived there?
No, I don't, but he was there quite a while. And people bring him out. I know they'd bring him out to Valentino's once in a while. And as I say, my daughter took the school children there. And he was just delighted to see him, and they were delighted to see him. But he was there quite a while.
And that was after he had had his legs taken off?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And do you know anything about his time at East Junior High playing soccer? Because I know he was on the soccer team there.
I don't know much about that.
Okay.
No. I know he never got involved in the black and white issue. He's avoided that. And he would say his problems were always with the tape measure and the stopwatch. That's how he avoided that conversation.
Wow. That's great. Thank you. Anything else?
Yeah.
Okay. That was wonderful, Jim. Thank you so much. A lot of this stuff I'd never heard, and it's really, really powerful stuff. So thank you.
I'll tell you what, he told me the type of record to have was one that you hold alone, alone. And I think he did have one for a while, but he broke another record one time, and he said they didn't give it to him. He didn't complain about it. He didn't, because he had a tailwind of so much, and then that added to it. But he had one, a new world record, and denied that. Of course, it probably happened to other people along the line doing the same thing. But, pleasant guy to talk to.
You spent a lot of time at Central Market, no?
Yes, yes, yeah. See him there. I remember being somewhere, an athletic event sometime. We'd see him out here. He'd come to football games and things like that. My son ran cross country and ran here too. And you'd see him around here. But I remember someplace, I don't remember where. I thought it was at Penn State during the high school state championships, where he was walking across the field, but you would hardly be walking across the infield at the track meet gym. Anyhow, and the announcer would like to call your attention to this gentleman described a walker here, Barney Rule, and they announced him in front of the crowd. But he was a really good guy. Mm-hmm. Another thing I've been told, that he had a coaching job he could have gone to down south, that Abe Herr had this lined up for him. And all he had to do was go down to on Barney Rule, and he chose to stay here in town. I kind of know how that is. My siblings all left here, but they won't get me out of Lancaster County unless they run me out, Yeah. But he chose to stay here.
Yeah, that's interesting because I know he had a degree in phys ed from Penn State, so he could have done that sort of thing. But, Good.
Oh, do I have time to look at a 1938 yearbook?
Sure. Yeah, I can get it for you right behind you. Do you know anything about the Southeast and what that was like in Barney's day when he was growing up there?
Well, I know this. There are a lot of Jewish people there. Jewish people, a lot of them left Europe, during bad time. And the Russians during the pogrom, in 1906, 7, 8, 9, maybe that's when the Klevanskys came here, I don't know. Romanovs, Klevansky, things like that were down there, and a lot of Jewish people. In fact, they had a temple down there one time. We're here. And a lot of people were poor people. One girl said she was raised this last time Barney Google Road. That was an actual extension of Southeast Avenue, and it was some of the unpaved streets. And I remember seeing two boards nailed together like this for a rain spout, and the rain would come down into a barrel, and that's how they got their water. And it's torn down, and that was torn down early, and when they started cleaning up the place. But people were poor, and they got along well together, and they kind of stuck together,
It's interesting to me. It's ironic that there was that area called Barney Google Road, and that was right near where Barney grew up.
Yes.
And he also got his nickname from the Barney Google comic strip.
Yeah.
So there's an irony there.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Let me get you a yearbook.
Okay.
Yep.
He sent my grandchildren postcards that years ago there was an Olympics out in Los Angeles, I guess. Bobby Troop or somebody got out there, and he sent them postcards out there. Okay. These teachers were here when I was here.
Is there something specific I can help?
Yeah, I'm trying to look at who the coaches were in the track team. It's probably the back here.
I think there is a track photo. They're sitting on the band steps in the back, I think. It's the track team.
Oh, here's something else I want to see.
Excuse me for just a minute.
Certainly.